morning students, and welcome back once again with another video for the class 9 revision portion for the post-midterm exam. So today we will be talking about the basics, that is starting from the very beginning. In the last video we did the revision for the graphs, I think, and then we just saw the laws, what were the laws of the second chapter. Today we will be talking about the scalar and vector quantities. Now, in the very first chapter, we just talked about what are scalar and vector quantities. That is, scalar and vector quantities. So, whenever you are studying physics, the physical quantities like distance, displacement, speed, velocity, mass, weight, everything, whatever you do, those are known as physical quantities, and they can be categorized into these two. Okay? First one is scalar and second one is vector. Now, what's the difference between the two? The difference is that in scalar quantities, there is only magnitude. What is magnitude? That means such physical quantity can only be described by a number. Okay, a simple number. For example, my mass. So, my mass is around 60 to 65 kilograms. So, that is just a number. Okay? And such physical quantities which can only be described by just the number, or we can say magnitude, are known as scalar quantities. They do not require anything else. Okay. My mass on the surface of Earth and on the surface of Moon is same. It doesn't matter wherever an object is placed. Okay. That means the scalar quantities are the physical quantities which can only be described by just a number, which is called magnitude. So, physical quantities that require just magnitude. Okay? The second one is vector quantity. Now, vector quantity is a physical quantity that not only requires a number but also a specific direction. Okay, so if we are describing a certain physical quantity in a particular direction, then it is known as a vector quantity. Okay, for example, a simple example we studied about force. Whatever force it may be, whether it is gravitational force or a simple force given by a person on a box to make it move from one place to another. Okay, whatever that may be. So Force is actually a quantity which requires a particular number, that is magnitude. So let's say I am applying 50 newtons of force. Okay, I am applying 50 newtons of force on a particular object, and that object changes its position from point A to point B. Okay, so it is not just in a particular, you can say, specific number. It also requires where is point A and point B. So whenever I am applying a force, whether it is in this direction or in this direction or in this direction. So basically, whenever I am applying force, I require a direction. I cannot just simply apply the force. So the force is a vector quantity. Vector quantities require a number, that is magnitude, and also a specific direction. Okay. In that case, when we studied the very first chapter, that is we studied about speed and velocity. Okay, so speed is what is indicated on your meters. Okay, whenever you are driving a vehicle, whether it may be a motorcycle or a car or a bus, but you can see that the roads are completely changing in all directions. They are not in a straight line. So that means that your speed is what is indicated on the number. It requires just a number. It doesn't matter in which direction you are going. So that speed is actually a scalar quantity. Okay, so we can write the examples as well. For scalar, I am writing speed. Then, when we are talking about a particular point from point A to point B, that I have to go at that place. What is the distance? So the maximum length of the path which you are taking to reach that point is called distance. It doesn't matter in which direction we are going. We are just going to take that particular path. Okay, let's say there is a traffic jam. We take another path. It is a bit longer, but that will make us reach faster over there, because in the shorter path there is maybe traffic jam. Okay, that's just an example. So the length of the path which we are taking is known as distance. It does not require a direction. Okay, direction is not necessary to describe when we are talking about distance. Okay, so distance is also a scalar quantity. It just requires a number, that if I take this path, the number of kilometers done will be 5. But if I take that path, the number of kilometers will be 7. Okay, so we are reaching the same point, but we are taking different paths. And that different paths are different because they are given in different directions. They are in different directions. It doesn't matter. Okay, so the distance is actually a physical quantity that just requires a number. Okay, it does not require a direction, and so it is a scalar quantity. Similarly, my mass, we just talked about mass. Okay, so the mass is, let's say, 60 or 65 kg. So it does not require in which direction the mass is. Mass is just mass. Let's say this pen is having a mass of 10 grams. Okay, so this 10 grams, wherever I take it, it is going to be 10 grams. It does not matter in which direction I keep it. The mass is going to remain the same. Even if I throw it, then also its mass is going to remain the same. It doesn't matter in which direction I throw it. Okay, so mass is also a scalar quantity. There is no direction required to describe mass. Understood? One of the other very simple physical quantities that is a scalar quantity is time. Time has no direction. It just goes on and on. It never stops for anything. So time is also a scalar quantity. It does not require any direction. I hope you get the idea. So I am writing this etc. over here. Okay. Now we move on to vector quantity. Okay. So the counterpart of speed. So when we are talking about in a particular direction, then it turns velocity. Okay, so velocity is a physical quantity which is, let's say, speed with direction. So whatever speed we are doing, but in a specific direction, then it is known as velocity. And because it requires a specific direction, velocity is a vector quantity. Similarly, displacement. So like I just said, we are moving from point A to point B. Okay, one path is taking 5 kilometers, the other path is taking 7 kilometers. But that is a distance to reach that point. But what is actually the shortest path? Forget about the special road that takes us there. Imagine a straight line going through point A to point B. If I connect those 2 points, the distance might be very less, let's say 4 kilometers only. But the road is in such a way that I have to take it and reach over there according to that road. But specifically, if I just want to see what is the actual distance between the two, then I can draw a line. Imagine drawing a line, and then we can understand what is the actual distance. Okay, so that is known as displacement, or the shortest distance between point A and point B. So when I'm talking about a specific distance in a straight line, that means a direction, and so displacement is a vector quantity. Displacement is a vector quantity. And then after this, we talked about acceleration. Okay, acceleration is change in velocity. Once again, we require velocity. So acceleration is also a vector quantity. Once this chapter was complete, we moved on to the next one, that is force and laws of motion. Okay, in this, I just talked about the force. If we're talking about the force, then we're talking about a specific direction, and so force is also a vector quantity. Sorry, whether it might be gravitational force, that includes gravitational force as well. Whichever force it may be, they are all vector quantities. After this, we studied about weight of an object. Now what was weight? If you remember, we just talked about this. Weight is equal to mass into acceleration, that is force. Force is equal to mass into acceleration, that is the same thing. So weight is actually a force. Which force? The force with which the gravitational pull of the earth is applying on us. And that gives us the weight, okay, and therefore weight also being a force, a type of force, then it is in vector quantity. So weight is also a vector quantity. Remember, mass is a scalar quantity and weight is a vector quantity, and its unit is also in newtons, okay. Remember this. Mass is in kilograms, grams, okay, and weight is in newtons. Don't get confused. Now you know the reality. Not in real life, but actually you know the truth. So remember that. Okay, I will write the definition as well. Physical quantities that require magnitude and direction. Force, gravitational force and weight. Basically, they all are forces and therefore they are vector quantity. I hope it is clear to you, students. Students, in the previous video we talked about the 3 laws of motion, but there was also one law which is at the end, which was left, and we will continue with that as well. So the final law was law of conservation of momentum. So first of all, we need to understand momentum. Revise it once again. What is momentum? Momentum, given by symbol P, is mass into velocity. And once again, it has velocity. That means it is a vector quantity. I am writing over here. P is vector quantity. Okay. Now, what does this law state? It states that if there are 2 objects in an isolated system, that means there is no other forces acting on it, just these 2 objects, then if one object applies the force on the other object, then the momentum of both the object changes. Let's say that these 2 balls are moving in the same direction, ball A and ball B, and both have different velocities. That is, velocity of ball A is more than ball B, and ultimately this will strike on the ball B, and so after striking we all know what happens. Velocity of ball B increases. But the other thing is that at the same point, according to the 3rd law of motion, for every action there is equal and opposite reaction, and they both act on different objects. So ball A applied the action on ball B, but at the exact same moment ball B also applied the reaction on ball A, and so the velocity of ball A will decrease. That means this applies the force on B, so this velocity increases, but ball B applies the force on A, and so its velocity decreases. It happens on both ways, okay? So according to this, force AB is equal to minus force BA. It is in the opposite direction. Over here, negative sign only indicates that it is opposite direction, okay? After this, what happens is we apply the value of momentum. Okay, what is momentum? Momentum is mass into velocity, product of mass and velocity. Simple. So what happens is the momentum of ball A is different and momentum of ball B is different before striking. They both are having momentum because they both are having a particular velocity. Okay, now we find the momentum of both of these objects, and we find the total momentum, that is we do the mathematical sum of these two. So we have the total momentum of the system, but after some time ball A is going to strike the ball B, and when it strikes, both the velocities changes. Obviously the mass is going to remain the same, but overall both the velocities changes, and therefore momentum of both the object also changes, because this velocity is now slower and the velocity of this ball is now more, and therefore the momentum is going to change because we have mass into velocity. So the initial momentum of A is more and initial momentum of B is less, but after striking, initial momentum of final momentum of A decreases and final momentum of B increases than what was before. Okay, so we have new momentum for both of these balls. This one is more than before, this one is less than before. Now we do the sum of the momentum once again. So we have once again the total momentum of the system after striking with each other. Before striking and after striking. So we both have total momentum for two different scenarios, before striking and after striking. But the total momentum before striking and after striking will remain the same. That is what the law of conservation of momentum states. That the total momentum of the system remains conserved. That means it remains the same. It does not change. Before striking and after striking, it remains the same. If you want to see the derivation, this becomes mass into acceleration of ball A and acceleration of ball A. Similarly, minus of mass of ball B and acceleration of ball B. We know what is acceleration. Acceleration is change in velocity upon time taken. So I am writing mass of ball A, and over here I am writing VA minus UA upon time. That is final velocity of ball A minus final velocity of minus initial velocity of ball A. Similarly, over here minus MB final velocity of ball B minus initial velocity of ball B upon time taken. Now both are striking at the exact same time, and this is simple multiplication, so I can remove the time from this equation. So ultimately what I am giving is mass of ball A into final and initial velocities of ball A, and mass of ball B and final and initial velocities of ball B. I will do the simple mathematical multiplication, and this becomes MA VA minus MA UA over here minus MB VB plus MB UB. So what I am doing now, I am going to change the sides. That is, minus MB comes on this side and becomes plus. So I am writing over here MA VA plus MB VB, and this minus MA UA I am taking it on the other side. Therefore, it becomes plus. Other side of the equal to sign, changing from left hand side to the right hand side. Therefore, the minus sign changes and it becomes MA UA plus MB UB. Now left hand side is equal to right hand side, and therefore right hand side is also equal to left hand side. So I am changing this in the same way. It becomes MA UA plus MB UB equals MA VA plus MB VB. What I have done over here is simply change this on the other side of equal to sign and this on this side. Doesn't make a difference. If A is equal to B, then B is equal to A. I have not done anything different over here. Now what is M into velocity? U is initial velocity. We know that mass into velocity is momentum. So this is M into U, initial velocity. That means initial momentum of ball A. So I am writing Pi of ball A. Similarly, Pi of ball B. And over here, final momentum of ball A plus final momentum of ball B. Hence, this proves our law of conservation of momentum, that initial momentum of both the balls when I do the sum and final momentum of both the balls when I do the sum, then it becomes the same. And so, the total momentum of the system remains conserved. Okay? That's all for today, students. Have a nice day.